Do you ever concern yourself with constant arguing in a relationship? Have you ever been in a relationship where there's just constant arguing in a relationship that just goes on? I'm going to talk a little bit about cause and effect, a little bit of a metaphysical sense on how we can try to understand maybe how to heal our love relationships and other relationships, like including our relationships with other nations, but how to get what we want. I'm going to share a principle from the Course in Miracles, actually quite a few ideas, but a couple of principles from A Course in Miracles on how to get what you want out of a relationship and how to act from the heart and be sincere and live blissfully with the love of your life. Or if it's a business deal, how to, you know, be have everybody win and just be happy. I'm going to also mention again, like I like to do always, on how to do mindfulness meditation. And I want to say that resolving conflict is everything for spiritual freedom. Yes, we want to talk a little bit about spiritual freedom. Hey everyone, James Nussbaumer, and thank you so much for joining me on another episode of For a Better Life podcast. It's early Sunday morning on August 19th, 2018. And I'm in the park like I was last week, same time, Veterans Park in downtown Massillon, Ohio. My laptop sitting here with my cup of Maxwell House coffee. So I want to warn you, if you hear a little bit of noise in the background, the sun is just coming up. There's a construction site right behind me. They're building a new museum. The last few days, we had nothing but solid rain here in Northeast Ohio, where Massillon, Ohio is. And so they're working overtime. They're behind on this project, building this new museum, and now there's delivery trucks moving in. I heard they're working 7 days a week, but they were down the last couple of days because of the rain. So you might hear some trucks coming in, and it's a beautiful, dry morning after the last couple of days. You know, speaking of cause and effect, the downpour of the rain for a couple of days, now all of a sudden you get beautiful clear skies and dry air, no humidity. So I've also noticed as the sun is creeping up, the Harley Davidson drivers are out. Motorcycles are starting to go. It's a Sunday morning. It's kind of a peaceful day. Anyways, when there is constant arguing in a relationship, let's get to this right now. And disagreements happen between individuals and even nations, like I had mentioned. Consider this in a spiritual, metaphysical sense, that this perhaps is a change in the purpose that the Holy Spirit is bringing to the relationship due to a certain cause. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with me, when I say the Holy Spirit, I'm talking in a metaphysical sense as your inner guidance system, your inner light of truth. You know, I read someone on Facebook had a post. It's on their header of their page on Facebook. And she's got a sign in the background from a building. I don't know where it came from. Looks like it might be Washington, D.C. or something, but it says, "There is no religion higher than the truth." Wow. Boy, that kind of hits you. But that's true. So the Holy Spirit is the inner truth in you. You can use whatever name you want. You can call the Holy Spirit, and I'm going to say the name Fran. You can call it Joe if you want. It doesn't matter. And the reason I say Fran is because Fran of Sutter Creek, California, 40 miles outside of Sacramento, had messaged me in to talk more about, how we can spiritually bring our relationships together. And she goes, "Can you ask me more about, the essence of, who we truly are and how we can connect that essence to others?" So Fran of Sutter Creek, California, outside of Sacramento, I'm going to try my best to answer that question for you today. But anyways, as we move on and you think about your relationship issues, now keep in mind, I'm going to talk a little bit about, in kind of a subliminal way, cause and effect. But keep in mind as you're listening to me too, that cause and effect meaning one, not two separate scenarios. Cause and effect as oneness, with no interval of time in between. So as we move on, like I said, let's keep in the back of our minds our innermost real and true nature, which is called what? It's called love, right? Yes. Oh, if you can hear that, there goes a nice Harley going by. I just love that early in the morning. Guys getting out on their motorcycles. Isn't that cool? Anyways, understanding what your real truth is within you, which is love, is why I encourage mindfulness meditation to get you to that alpha state, the beginning state, which is where your creativity sits. When you learn to meditate properly, you learn how to tap into your creative powers that sit within you. So I encourage that. If you're at my website listening to this podcast, because I've embedded this podcast into one of my blog articles, and you'll notice on the right-hand sidebar that there's somewhere there that I offer the 7-minute mindfulness meditation is what I highly recommend. So I hope that you'll check that out if you want to learn how to do mindfulness meditation. So, and also in my first book, first of all, let me explain for those of you that don't know me, I'm the author of an ever-developing series that is so exciting. It's about how to redirect the mental power of our mistakes before we act on them and turn them into positive results. The series starts with The Master of Everything, and its subtitle is A Story of Mankind in the World of Illusion We Call Life. And book 2, its sequel, is called Mastering Your Own Spiritual Freedom, subtitle Lessons from A Course in Miracles. And book 3, just out now to wrap up this trilogy. By the way, there's more books to come, but these are 3 out so far. The third book is called And Then I Knew My Abundance, published by Ozark Mountain Publishing Company, a mainstream publisher who saw it their purpose to get involved with my mission. I write from the principles as reflections of A Course in Miracles to help us lead a better life and to understand what we are inwardly truly about so we can outwardly live the life that we want. So in my first book, The Master of Everything, I had said that, we can look at our true essence or our true colors, or you can decide to maybe wait until they unfold. I mean, you can operate by your true colors immediately in an instant, or you can just kind of hang on and wait because you just, having some problems with life going on, and you know what your true colors are, but you're not ready to act on them yet. So maybe you can kind of wait and keep them on the back burner a little bit, but as long as you're tapping into what it is that you really want to do. And a lot of times that impatience is what can ruffle the feathers in some intimate relationships, as well as, relationships with countries against countries. I need to take a sip of my coffee here. Thank you. Oh, it's such a wonderful, wonderful morning. Likewise, let me add that you can hope that you can hope and pray that one day, say things like, the hungry of the world will be fed and we will not have starvation anywhere. Or you can help move along the acceptance movement now, instead of waiting for some day in the future. There's always just one day I'm going to do this, but we never act on it now. Now is all that there is. Yeah, I get kind of excited about this kind of thing. So excuse me, because I study and write about the now and in the presence of everything that's going on, and how you need to be creating the life that you want from within your passion now, not later. Or you can fret over constant arguing in a relationship, or things like waiting till your neighbors pay you back from a loan that you gave them. Or you can be content with your act of giving, regardless of reciprocation. Sure, we all want to pay people back when we owe them. I'm not trying to get out of that, because if you're thinking that way, then you're thinking from the ego-based mind, which is filled with fear, doubt, judgment, and criticism. No, but we all have the ego-based mind in us. What I'm trying to say is these are the effects that came out of a cause that are available here and now for us, not someday. So when we can feel these feelings of judgment towards someone, we can see that as the Holy Spirit nudging us and saying, are you realizing this? Are you seeing how you're thinking here and judging this person? So then it allows for an effect to take place. I hope that makes sense. And I don't have a lot of time to dwell on that, but if you really, really want to dive deep in that, well, then you need to check out my book series, which really I'm getting tremendous love from many, many people about my first book especially. And I just see exciting things ahead. So, think about this. We've been raised to believe that everything that comes from God brings good. Well, this is so. Certainly it is, because God is love. God is truth. Didn't I say in the beginning that all we are about is love, truth? That's God. So my point is, but often doesn't it seem to not be so when we think, what I mean is, doesn't it sometimes seem to us to be that God is not all love and God is not all joy and happiness? Doesn't it sometimes seem to be that way? Because isn't good in the form of a disaster now difficult to see? What I mean is, for example, when Mother Nature takes a wrecking ball to her realm in the form of a level 8 earthquake in a populated area, don't we kind of in the back of our mind wonder, how could God do this? Or we might say, well, he's punishing us somehow for some reason. Or let's say the pain of a 7-year-old child whose parents were suddenly killed. Where is the good in all of this? Don't we ask ourselves that quite often? Why should we try to see the good in evil's form, is what I'm trying to say to you. Why should we try to see the good in evil's form? Or how will good ever come from the constant arguing in a relationship, we might think? You get where I'm coming at? If not, bear with me. Its cause is apparent, so why are we not seeing its good effects? Well, why in the future do we have to wait for the effects? That's what I'm trying to say, because we want to live in conflict, in separation. Conflict is separation. So when we see a cause, we think that because of the ego-based mind, which is of this world, not of eternity, we think, well, why do I have to wait in the future for something to, for this sadness I'm going through to make things better? Well, we are taught to be content with reasoning to ourselves that we do not understand it now, but someday we will. Wow. Like someday? Who wants to wait till someday? Then we are told the meaning will be clear someday. Well, this is not a reason. This is unjust and clearly hints at punishment until the time of liberation or freedom is at hand. That's what we think. But given a change of purpose for the good, there is no reason to see any such time interval or space interval when disaster strikes to be seen as, well, this might turn into good someday. What I'm trying to say is, when we see things in the form of pain, this becomes a sacrifice of now, which could not be a cost the Holy Spirit would put on you. In other words, we're trying to say that we're in pain now, but we really are not in pain now. We only think that we're in pain. We're trying, if we can transform that pain into, what's the message I'm getting here? Okay, it's not as easy as it may seem, because if you're thinking about the body too much as who you are, then you're having a hard time understanding that, because that means you are mostly cloud-covered, ego-based thinking. But that's okay. There's a way out of that by letting the cloud cover dissipate. By understanding that the Holy Spirit, your inner guidance system, gives without cost at all. The Holy Spirit of God gives without sacrifice, without penance, without cost, without hurt and pain. Gives without all that. We only project that. Okay, so then you might think, well, then why is there constant arguing in relationships? Why then? And as well as, What is a disaster all about? Why did this disaster occur? Why is there tragedy in the world? I have encountered great difficulty feeling this sort of question for myself, believe me, which led me to much spiritual pondering. And especially for those of you that know me, while I was in prison over that foolish securities violation for 8 long years, where all my books were written. For those of you that don't know me, I had to throw that in. For those of you that know me well, I don't want to be redundant on that. But I went through lengthy times while I was writing and figured out, how am I going to get this book together? I went through lengthy times wondering, but never doubting my own faith, okay, wondering about all this. But that for me is really too deeply rooted, my faith. A Course in Miracles merely gave these deep roots of mine freedom. I opened myself to the freedom to feel good about my way of my faith. My studies and writing of A Course in Miracles have helped me to see my deep roots for what they really are, not what the world prescribes. Does that make sense? Oh, I better take another sip of my Maxwell House coffee. But now bear with me now. However, I wondered why I couldn't contemplate the connection through my own rational thinking about why all these disasters are happening. Why couldn't I reason with my own way all the way through and figure this out? Why couldn't I figure this out? That's when I realized my error with my own problems, when there was constant arguing in relationships that I have had in the past, and that was always been, a big hang up with me. I could not imagine there could be something I could not figure out. Then one day, while studying and writing from the principles of A Course in Miracles, while in prison, in the deep, volatile, and violent rabbit hole of the prison system, the answer hit me like a lightning bolt in the heart. Could this be it? Could this be what cause and effect really is about? The lightning bolt that hit me in the heart? I'm certainly feeling the effects of all the suffering that I might go through. And that makes the suffering a lot easier for me. So bear with me. Then I stumbled into some writings that someone had sent in to me by the French philosopher sent into prison to me, because there was limited reading material there. Then I stumbled into the writings of the French philosopher Blaise Pascal. Blaise Pascal, American lingo, Blaise Pascal. He was arguing that God has given us just enough light so that we can understand, and just enough darkness or obscurity to deny the truth if we wish to deny the truth. That was it. It came on to me. God has given us just enough darkness if we want to reside in the darkness and wonder, why is all this stuff happening? Why is all these tragedies happening? But God has given us just enough light so that we can understand. And that was it to me. Of course, God cannot reveal himself or his reason for cause, which with a capital C, in a rational or irrefutable manner, or in that way. What I mean by that is he would be violating the most fundamental universal law that there is. Okay, again, let me say where I'm getting at. Remember, we are that universal law of attraction, we could say, which is a popular term today. That is the idea of God. And he has given us just enough light to see by, but not enough to eliminate the need to see with eyes of faith. So, and this is how miracles manifest, by continuing to shed your light on the faith that you have, the goals that you want to do. If it's overcoming conflicts in a relationship, then that's it, whatever it might be. The ego, that doubting and fearful aspect in us, tells us that we should be God-fearing in all our understanding of the way the world will turn out to be one day. Like one day in the future. No, we don't need to wait for the future. We need to accept this now. And again, what I mean is, but what really, when reciprocation is finally received, is not in the future or future happiness. I mean, no, it means it's being received now, because when you're giving to someone, whether it's listening to someone dump on you about their problems, about why you might have upset them, without darting back at them and protect and defending yourself, that might be the giving that is needed. So let's not be content with future happiness. Rather, let's always be living in the here and the now, which the Course in Miracles calls the holy instant. And the Course in Miracles teaches us in a wonderful principle: let the giving of the Holy Spirit be let the giving of the holy instant be in the power of the Holy Spirit. In other words, your inner guidance system. Let your inner guidance system tell you, just operate now. Don't worry about what you've done in the past. Sure, learn off of that. Don't fear the future. Worry about the steps you're taking now. If you're not taking any steps forward, then you're not contemplating or understanding the now. You need to continue stepping forward. When you take one step, that's a now. It's over with. When you go to the next step, that's another now. It's over with. And on and on. You're always practicing through the faith that is the truth of you from the now. So spiritual freedom, or heaven, we may say, has no meaning in the future. And there are no rewards. No, there's not. Why else was the symbolic tree of knowledge forbidden? Well, the man-made human ego-based mind, the human ego-made mind, decided that the tree of knowledge was something that you needed to stay away from. And we don't want to get there, because that can lead to another, and I've got that in another podcast just on that. But the answer is simple, in that there is no future to have knowledge about. That was the lesson of the tree of knowledge. Bite into the apple and you're going to have a better future? No, the lesson of the tree of knowledge at the Garden of Eden was there's nothing to worry about the future. As long as you're taking care of yourself now, the future will always be now. So, by the way, I've also, if you're at YouTube, in the description box down below is a link that will give you a wonderful bit of information, free information on how to fix a broken relationship, if that's the problem you're going with and why you're listening to me here. And I'll also have the link to this actual written version of this blog article at my website in the description area down below at YouTube. So you can click on that and you can go to the written version of this, and you will be enlightened with everything that I have to offer here, with a lot of things for you to look at. So my point is, as we get going, because I'm running out of time, but during my research on this, I found that the world's most successful people, including the late Blaise Pascal, as I mentioned earlier, had and still have this very way of thinking. Always living for now, because when you're always in the now, that becomes your future. But then and my friend Eckhart Tolle really expands on that in his book, The Power of Now. So, but don't let it be disguised as time, because this deliverance can only happen right within you in this instant. Does that make sense? And before I close, I hope it does, let me say that please support my work. Fran is of my mastermind group, who had written in. Fran from Sutter Creek, California. I hope I've answered your question. If I haven't, please message me back. Fran is of my mastermind group. I have a subscription only, paid subscription only mastermind group. But I also have a free version of other newsletters that you're welcome to participate in if you're not ready for the mastermind group. And at my website, you will see offers everywhere for newsletter. The header above, the footer below, on any page of my website, and throughout my blog articles, jamesnussbaumer.com. So I hope that you'll support my work. And I have to add, before I mention a few more comments. I always refer other authors, life coaches, experts in fields that I can't even fathom myself, but I've totally checked them out where I think, hey, this might help me. I always refer those people at my website. So whenever I put a link into an article that you may be reading, or images in the sidebar or in the article leading you to a product or a system or a course or a free ebook or whatever it is, because if you read all of my books, all the way up to 16 I've got written so far, but only 3 published, but that's on its way, and I'm so thrilled about that. My point is though that I will not be able to answer all of your questions. And somewhere right now as we're speaking, there is another author or a life coach or a psychologist or some kind of spiritual mentor or some kind of business mentor or something like that referring my books to their people that follow them. And isn't that the way the universe works? Cause and effect, we can say. So let me wrap this up and say why wholeness of mind heals relationships. Well, formerly I discussed and I talked about discovering the best mending of a marital relationship, recommendations. And this led to another principle in the Course in Miracles that I want to get to you right now. And it's stated at my blog article, the written version, or the article that this podcast will be embedded in, which we can say is the written version of this podcast. The Course in Miracles additionally states, in heaven is whatever God values and absolutely nothing else. In other words, in heaven, I'll say that again, is whatever God values and absolutely nothing else. Paradise is completely unambiguous. Whatever is clear and brilliant and calls forth one action. That's what heaven is. So if you can take that thought of that principle into when arguments are arising in a relationship, that you need to get to that heaven state where paradise is completely unambiguous, which means crystal clear. There has to be that crystal clear connection that you have with your mate or your business partner or whatever it is that you fall in love with, so to speak, we can say. Nothing wrong with using that term. A lot of times we're more apt and more easy for us to say I hate rather than I love. Nothing wrong with sharing that love word. A few more important things before I go that I want to say, that working out a genuine humbleness relationship is an essential part for ways to conserve a marriage, to fix a broken relationship, to repair a damaged marital situation, to maybe recover from infidelity, if that's the case that you want to do. Your partner will feel more connected and in love with you when you are satisfying his or her essential psychological, or we can say mindful requirements. Wow, it's just, I just get so excited about this kind of, I hope you can feel the passion in me. And as I go, the passion in me is my inner beauty. I'm reflecting to the outer world for you to hear and listen to. And as I go, I want to say, I hope you are thinking a lot about your own life and all the natural beauty, the natural awesomeness that is within you. I give my heart to you. I love you. I want you to share that beauty that is within you to the world, to your mate, to your husband, to your wife, to your business partner, to whoever it is, in the right way that you know how. And you know what I'm saying there. I want to say again, thank you for listening to me. I hope that you will subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're at YouTube. And I hope that you will continue to support my work and read my blogs. And I hope that if you're not an owner of my first three books so far, you got to do it. You've got to get my books in your house or your office. I wish the best for you in life, in love, in all the success the universe ever has to offer you. It's yours. It's yours here and now. Until next time, God bless. James Nussbaumer signing off.